السلام عليكم. الورشة اللي هنعملها اليوم مع الخبير سفين من بروكسل من بلجيكا هتكون عن كيف الطالب وممكن المحاضر ممكن أي واحد حابب يجهز الملف تبعه للتوظيف، سواء كان لأول مرة بده يحط التوظيف تبعه على الويب أو واحد حابب يغير الشغل تبعه. معنا الخبير سفين بيشتغل في شركة فولت وهو من المؤسسين فيها، وهو يعمل في هذا المجال من سنين طويلة. واليوم حتسمعوا منه كيف الواحد يجهز الملف تبعه على الويب، وكيف الواحد يقدر يتفاعل مع الناس اللي تحط الوظائف أونلاين، وكيف الواحد يقدم على المشاريع اللي موجودة أونلاين. فنترككم إن شاء الله معاه وتستفيدوا. بارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم.
Hello everyone, and welcome to my presentation about how to stack up on your interviews. Today I'll be talking about your CV, your motivational letter, about your online visibility, and how you can create a LinkedIn profile which will be efficient in being found by other recruiters or by HR managers. So first of all, for a quick introduction to see why you would be listening to me, I am working as a recruiter for Volt Europe, where I've headed up the big data unit, so big data recruitment for clients, which are mainly startups on the European continent. And I'm working both on a recruitment role myself and part of a sales role in finding new clients. So on my day-to-day basis, I'm always looking for new people to be hired by some of the companies I work for, and it's all in data engineering, data science, and software development. So let's start with one of the most important parts about the recruitment process, which is your CV and your motivational letter. So usually that will be the first message you will send to a recruiter or to an HR manager or to someone who's already working at a company that you know, so they can pass it through to the right persons. So in here, I'll guide you step by step to see how can you create a decent CV. I'll show you some tips and tricks, and then I shall give you an example on how someone could create a CV, which I personally found very good. So let's start about thinking about how to create your CV from the beginning. It's a little bit like when your parents used to ask you before when you were younger, what do you want to do? Now, of course, everyone here is already looking for jobs in IT or in data science or big data in general. You already know what you want to do, but there might be things that you prefer doing above other things. Or on the other hand, there could be things that you dislike to do. It's always good to know in advance where you want to go, because you will have to create your CV, you will have to create your LinkedIn profile and your motivational letter in line with what you want to do, because then you will be able to create something a lot more specialized when you are writing it, and when you're sending it, you'll come across already as someone who's really passionate about this job itself. So let's go a bit more in depth about a CV. What are the things that should definitely be in there? Some of these will be quite obvious, but I'll just run through them to make it complete. So usually what you'll start with are your personal details. So in there, of course, your name, where you're living at the moment, how people could contact you by email or by phone or through your LinkedIn account, your birth date, all the general information. Next to that, I really advise everyone, when you are sending your CV, is to just beneath your personal details already put the job title for which you are applying. So for example, let's say that you're looking for a junior software engineer position. When you have your credentials, just under it, you can already put junior software engineer. It's more of a mind game, but then the person who's reading it, he will already say, okay, this guy is a junior software engineer, and already the title is coming across with this, which already might give you an edge when they need to go through a pile of a lot of CVs. Now, next to that, you all are finishing your studies, so you probably do not have too much professional background yet. So let's start with your academic career. Usually, everyone starts in a chronological order, where you put your last experience, so what you are doing right now, at the top. So let's say that you're now doing a master in computer sciences, then you will first put Master of Computer Sciences from, let's say, 2015 until 2017. And beneath that, you will do what you did before that, which will probably be, for example, a Bachelor in Computer Sciences, and then go down until your high school if you so wish. Usually, the academic career, once you finish your master's degree, only the university is the most important part, so you can skip the other ones. After that, you can go to your professional experience, jobs, internships that you have done that are relevant to what you want to do. For example, if you have already worked as a freelancer for a company while you were studying, if you were helping somebody out in creating a website, if you wrote some scripts, if you did some testing, if you worked with some startups to create or to help develop their products, those are things you should also put in a chronological order, or you can put it with the most relevant thing first. If you're going for a junior software engineer position, and 2 years ago you worked as a software engineer for a startup, definitely put that first, and then afterwards you can put the thing that you did last year, which might be website design, which for the junior software engineer position would be less relevant. After that, you are in a technical role, so the skills are very important. There are some things that you should really consider when creating your CV. One of the most important things is that usually there's a recruiter or there's an HR manager who will be weeding out the CVs in the beginning. Now, they are not technical people, so one of the things you need to take into account is that all the skills that you have seen at school, even if they don't really seem relevant, please write them down. Because it will really depend. Some HR managers or some recruiters will have a specialization in technology, and they will know what those technologies are doing. But there might be other companies where that's not the case. There might be a recruiter who's working on finance role, who's working on HR roles, who's working on technical roles, who's working on bookkeeping roles. He might not know all the technologies. So when he sees a CV, he will have a job description with a list of technologies on it, and he won't know them. So if he puts your CV next to it and he doesn't see that you have all the skills required, he might not be interested, although in reality you might be a perfect fit. So please try to mention all the relevant skills that you see on the job description, and make sure that they're also listed on your CV just to increase your chances. Afterwards, we get a bit deeper on the personal skills. So there you can go to, okay, I'm a rather social person, or I can work in a group, but in the end, I really feel that I'm more efficient working on my own. You could go a bit into your hobbies, which usually isn't really relevant, but it could give you a small edge. I've had an example before where they had to choose between two people, but the HR manager had a better fit with one of those two people because they had the same hobbies. So that's something that could work, but in general, it won't really make a difference. Next to that, you can always finish with some references, people who you know that the company could contact, and that will make sure that they give a good reference for you in saying why they should hire you or why you did a good job just before. So that's the step-by-step part about creating a CV. I will give an example just after this slide to give you a good view on how you could do this. Now, some tips and tricks to give you is make sure that your resume or your CV is aligned with the country's expectations. To give an example, I'm working on the European market. Now, in Belgium, people really like a very short CV. So for someone who just got out of school, usually 1 page is enough where you put all your information on it, and you just put the most important things to go further on. If you already have some experience, some people try to put it in 1, but then 2 pages on a CV could be accepted as well. But for example, if you'd go outside of Europe and you would like to go to New Zealand, in New Zealand it's really expected to have a CV of 4 to 5 pages where you will go in depth on every project you have done so far, and likewise for your motivational letter. So that's something you really need to take into account. So when you are applying for a job in a specific country, do a small research on Google to see what the expectations are on a CV. Is it a short one? Is it a long one? Is it just between the middle? And what do they want on that CV? Or you could get in touch with recruiters who are working in that country themselves and see if they could help you out with there. Next to that, make sure it's visually interesting. As a tech person, you already have a rather interesting profile, but still, if you're going for companies who get a lot of CVs like Google or Facebook, you will be one of hundreds of others. Make sure that there's something on your CV that makes you stand out. Sometimes you can try and take a risk, or by really putting it very flashy. If it fits, you might be remembered by the person who needs to hire you, and he might get you over on an interview. Afterwards, get straight to the point. There's no need to tell a lot of stories, which might make some stories more bright, or give some extra background of things that you did on another project and it might be aligned to something else. Just keep to the facts, and that will be the best for your CV. Always be clear and honest about yourself. If you only speak one language and you say that you're fluent in 3 languages, it will just break down on the interview. You will be tested on it. The same on technical skills. If you are decent, or if you have worked with several technologies, there's a quite big chance that they will ask you some questions about them to see how much you have worked with them. And nobody likes somebody who really exceeds or over-expects him on himself. So the main goal about a CV is also to make sure that people contact you. A lot of people are very proud of their CV and all the things they have done, and they tend to go too deep on it. The thing is, you need to sell yourself. The CV has only one goal, and that's to make sure that the person who you're reaching out to is going to get back to you and ask you when you could be available for an interview. Now we'll be going deeper on a small example that I've brought with me. So this is an example which I completely blinded for privacy reasons, about a senior software engineer that applied to one of my roles before. Now, as you can see, he starts with all his credentials. He starts with his name, he starts with the job title he had, which was senior software engineer. He gave the information about himself. Then he, as a profile, he defines himself. So he said, look, I'm a full stack developer. These are my interests. This is what I want to do. This is what I have already done. Beneath it, he says which technologies he already worked with. So he says, look, on a back-end language, I have experience with these technologies. On a front-end language, implementation, databases, testing tools. He mentions everything just as a keyword, so it can already be found by the relevant managers. Then beneath that, he starts with the qualifications. Now, as I said, once you're working, it's better to start with your working experience, but in the end, it's not a big difference. So in here, the guy has a Master of Artificial Intelligence, goes into his languages, and then afterwards he lists his experiences. So there again you start with the first experience and you explain a bit about what you have done. Something that a lot of people do, on which I can really advise, is also to, beneath these projects, to tell more about the technologies you've used in there, so that they have a better view. In the beginning, they get a view about the technologies you have worked with in your life. Now you're going to define which of these technologies you have used for a specific project, to go further in there. And then afterwards, he just has one line about hobbies. As I said, it doesn't need to be too big. Now, next to that, we will be going into a motivational letter. This is something widely discussed in the sector, in HR, human resources, to see if it's actually still necessary. Now, from my point of view, it's actually not necessary on the Belgian market. Now, there could be countries where it is more important nevertheless, so I'll be digging a bit deeper in here. Now, here in Belgium, we usually advise, if you do want to write a motivational letter, just put it into your email. Don't attach something else, because that will never be read. Put it as a text in there, and more put it as just an extra explanation about why you really wanted to go and apply for this role, and tell them why you would be a good fit. Now, one of the advices that I gave is to just tell a story. I was interested because of this reason, I'm good due to this, and then always end with a call to action. Already tell them when you are free for an interview. Already tell them, look, I'm a good guy, tell me when I will be ready for an interview. Just mention it. It's also, again, a mind game when people say, okay, I need to do this. Some people will just, yes, okay, he asked me for an interview, I will give him the interview. Now, this will, of course, not work with die-hard HR managers of big companies, because they're used to this, but it could work with smaller companies and people who are not used of getting motivational letters like this. The most important thing as well about a motivational letter is that it's not a copy of your CV. In a motivational letter, you will tell and explain and elaborate on the motivation of why you want to work for this company, and a CV letter is a resume about all the technologies you've worked with, what you have done, and why, based on facts, you could be a good candidate. In here, I have another example. I won't dig too deep in it. You'll be able to see this later on when the presentation is being released. But this is just a basic motivational letter you could write and adapt to your needs. Let's go dig deeper into online visibility. We're going to talk about the internet and job boards, things that people can learn about you or what they can find about you when they're going to do research on the internet. So let's start with internet visibility. One of the first reflexes you should always do when you're starting a recruitment process is to see what can be found about me online. Because a lot of companies will do research. Even in some countries, it's actually not allowed to use these as a reason for declining you, but you can be very sure that they will be doing it. So make sure that you go on your Facebook account, and there should be an option in your settings that you can see your Facebook account as someone who's not befriended with you. Click on that option and see what's visible on your Facebook. Are there any compromising pictures? Are there any pictures where you're doing stuff that you wouldn't like your employer to know about you? Make sure that you remove these pictures, or if you're tagged in it by some of your friends, that you ask to remove these pictures, or to just put them on hold until the recruitment process is over. Next to that, do the same thing on Google. Write down your name, see what can be found either on images, see what can be found about you on the internet. Are there certain articles? Are there any forums that you're active on that you posted a post that might be a bit double or a bit compromising, or an employer could see it as a reason not to hire you? Make sure that you ask those posts or images are being removed so that they don't influence your process in a negative way. One of the other things is also create a professional email address. It's actually quite strange, and I thought it was quite logical for a lot of persons. But when I get CVs from people who just graduated, they still often use the nickname they used when they were 12 or when they were 14. They were looking to a cartoon or to some anime, and they use an email address which is based on that. Now, of course, it was fun when you were 12 or 13, but for an employer, he usually will kind of frown upon it. It can depend from company to company, but I would really advise you to just keep a neutral and professional looking email address. Now, next on online visibility, we'll go and dig deeper into job boards. Now, job boards really depend from country to country. You have some larger job boards, like for example Monster, you have ICT Job, you have Stepstone, you have the IT job board. Those are being used in multiple countries across Europe. Now, it's always good to just go on Google if, for example, you're going to apply for a company, or you want to move to France, you want to move to Sweden, you want to move to Australia or whatever country. Just Google the country and put job boards after it. See which job boards there are and go on there. Let's have a look at what the first jobs are that are open and where people are looking for it. Now, on the other hand, every job board will also have the opportunity or the option for you to upload your CV. When you upload your CV will go into a database. Now, companies pay a lot of money to these job boards to get access to this database so they can find the right profiles by themselves. So there's two ways in using job boards. The first way is you apply on a job, and then you will be able to transmit your CV and your contact details to the company itself. And the other way is that a company will be going in a job board, and he will be using some searches where they will mainly go dig deeper into keywords or technologies that can be found. So it's a text parser where they will check for these CVs, they will do a search, they get an amount of CVs that corresponds with the search, and they can start uploading these CVs to their database and start calling them. That's another way. So when you create your CV, make sure, that's one of the reasons that I said to put on all your technologies, because if you upload it to a job board, people who have companies with not necessarily job openings, every month they usually check, is there an interesting guy who uploaded a CV that might be interesting to the future, and then you will be able to find that way. So make sure that everything is generalistic when you upload it to a job board, and make sure to personalize your CV and with a motivational letter when you're applying for a job. Now, one of the main things that has been hyping for quite a lot of time lately is LinkedIn. So what we'll be discussing here. First of all, what is LinkedIn? Who is using LinkedIn? And why are people using LinkedIn? Because it can be used for a lot of reasons. Next to this, we'll do a small comparison of LinkedIn and Facebook. We'll go through some useful sections, and then afterwards, we'll talk a bit about how recruiters find you by using LinkedIn. So, First of all, what is LinkedIn? LinkedIn can be seen as social media in one hand, but on the other hand, for me, it is more a huge network event where everyone can come across and where you can share ideas with other people, where you can ask for connection requests with people who could help you out on a professional matter, or just pick to discuss some ideas with people of a certain industry, which you would normally be impossible for you to get in touch with. Like, for example, software engineers working in the United States, working for Google, working on a specific project that interests you and you would like to have some more information about it. You could add this contact to LinkedIn. You could add this person on LinkedIn and try to engage a conversation with him. It's as easy as that. And it's also one of the main uses that at the moment is occurring. Now, another reason why LinkedIn is being used, of course, is finding a job or finding new people. So when you create your LinkedIn profile, it's actually a bit like your Facebook account, but on a very professional matter. You will put information about it which is related to your academics or to your professional career. The information that's on it is a bit similar to your CV because it will strengthen your own reputation and it will give more information to HR people or line managers about what you are doing at the moment. So I will go a bit deeper later on all the sections that LinkedIn has and which ones you should be using. But when, for example, in software engineering, you would put the same things. You would put your education background, you would put the projects that you have been working on, you will put all the technologies you have been using. There are options where you can say, hi, I'm looking for a job. These can both be open and private. Let's say, for example, that you are actively working already. You can still put on an option that recruiters, for example, or people with a recruiter account can see that you're actively looking for a job. So that way you can also get in touch with people and it would be easier to be found by these HR managers, line managers of companies that could be interested by your profile. Next to that, it also gets used for sales opportunities. Might be interesting for you to the future if, for example, you would go to more technical sales-oriented roles. The fact that you're able to connect with everyone everyone who has a LinkedIn account. Not everyone will accept it, but still a lot of people accept it and are quite open to speak with you. Remember that when you're trying to engage with people, just start a conversation, and most people should be willing to help you further. Now, of course, not everyone will be doing it, but just give it a try and you'll see where you could go. Now, comparing LinkedIn with Facebook. Facebook, of course, it's for your pictures with your friends. You can invite all your family on it. You can share personal opinions, which can be on a philosophy or on religion, or we don't really know on what. Now, when we're going deeper in there, Facebook is something just for a private part. If you're going to put pictures on your LinkedIn account, it has to be professional or academical related. It could be, for example, a conference you went to. It could be when you're graduating. But for the rest, pictures is something that you usually won't be taking, except a professional one to take as your profile picture. Now, if we dig a bit deeper into LinkedIn, there's some sections which are a bit more useful than the others. So of course, as I said, just with a CV, the summary. Explain very short about who you are, what you want to do, what your specialization is, and how you could go further helping either your current company to give more information in there, or how you could help a future company willing to hire people in going deeper in there. Next to that, the skills, of course. Same reason as with the CV. When recruiters or HR managers or line managers are using LinkedIn to go and look for profiles, they will have a job description with some technologies in it. The first thing they will do is look for people who have these technologies listed in their names. So even those technologies that you haven't listed or haven't been using too much, just put them in there and you might get contacted by a company that really likes to hire you. Of course, the other things are quite straightforward. You have the languages you speak, you have the projects which you have done. If you've had awards, for example, if you graduated with honors or with big honors, always put it in there. If there's one part in life where you can really poach about all the things that you have done, this is really the time. In here, people will really appreciate the fact that you have received the honors, that you are an expert in a certain domain, and you can continue going in there. Now, how do recruiters find you? There are several paying accounts that companies could use to give to their members or their users. And in there, it gives an option to go deeper and deeper. On normal premium accounts, for example, you can make sure that you find a lot more people. If you go on recruiter accounts, you can really create projects, you can use it as a CRM system. And when we are doing a search, we use something called a Boolean search, which you will probably know. So we're working with and, or, not clauses. We add some skills in there, we add some words in there, and we try to find the perfect profile based on that. So then again, I can't stress enough on the fact of putting the technologies you have been using in there to make sure that you get found by the right people and for the right opportunities as well. If, for example, and you will notice a lot of recruiters might start stalking you because a lot of companies really want to have the good members in their team. So if you see that you want to do back-end development and you put too many front-end technologies on your profile and you only get contacted for front-end technologies, then in that case, I would really advise you to just remove these technologies that you do not want to be contacted for and only keep those that you would be useful for your further career and that you really want to be contacted for. But that's something you will see once you start building your LinkedIn profile, making it more professional, and once you get contacted by other recruiters. Now, this brings me to the end of my presentation. So if any of you has any further questions, then feel free to ask them, and then we'll dig deeper into them. Thank you very much.